The social media platform Parler no longer has a CEO. He announced his termination. But not everyone agrees on why it happened. Representative Liz Cheney will stay on as the third most powerful House Republican. She faced off with her pro-Trump colleagues last night over allegations she made against the former president. And in a surprise move, the Department of Justice dropped a lawsuit against Yale University, alleging discrimination against Asian American and white applicants. Tune into Deep Dive as we explore these topics and more. Hello and welcome. This is Deep Dive and I'm Tiffany Meier. Another round of stimulus checks could be coming. The House just passed a budget resolution paving the way for Congress to move forward with President Joe Biden's virus relief package without Republican backing. The 218 to 212 vote fell along party lines, except for two Democrats who sided with Republicans against the resolution and one Republican who missed the vote. Since Democrats hold majorities in both the House and the Senate, they can use budgetary measures to push the relief package through, bypassing the GOP. Many Republicans feel Biden's $1.9 trillion package is much too large, especially after the $900 billion virus aid bill passed in December. Some Republicans are saying that money from the last bill has yet to be spent. Republicans presented Biden with an alternative bill that comes in at $618 billion. The two parties agree on the need for $160 billion for CCP virus vaccine distribution and administration. They both want more stimulus checks sent out, but Republicans are pushing for targeted relief. Senator Mike Rounds said on Fox News this week that he got a stimulus check in the mail despite his high salary as a senator. A nonpartisan nonprofit from Harvard University, Opportunity Insights, conducted an analysis that found households earning more than $78,000 spent little of the last round of funding. Right now, the package would give checks to individuals making up to $75,000 a year and couples making up to $150,000 a year. Biden convened with Senate Democrats in the Oval Office later on Wednesday, but the meeting was not open to the press. And in a different vote, the third most powerful House Republican, Representative Liz Cheney, will stay on. She faced off with her pro-Trump colleagues last night over accusations she made against the former president. House Republicans voted on Representative Liz Cheney in her role as the GOP conference chair. The outcome of 145 to 61 means Cheney keeps her position and remains the most powerful Republican woman in Congress. According to media outlets, pro-Trump Republicans tried to oust her for voting to impeach the former president. Cheney is still likely to face a primary challenge in 2022 by a candidate funded by a pro-Trump political action committee. The Wyoming representative had blasted Trump in a statement leading up to the impeachment vote, fully siding with a Democratic allegation. According to The Hill, the secret ballot vote followed a heated meeting held in the basement of the Capitol Visitor Center. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy rallied support for Cheney, arguing in her favor of keeping his leadership team intact. McCarthy also turned to speak of Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's been attacked by Democrats over her past online posts. He says Greene denounced the comments that were causing fire and had reached out in other ways and forms. At the same time, the Democrat-led House is planning a floor vote to strip Greene of her committee assignments. Greene is currently assigned to the House Education and Labor and House Budget Committees. A top Democrat says it's due to Greene's apparent online embrace of conspiracy theories. Greene says Democrats are engaging in a mob cancel campaign. The freshman congresswoman also says mainstream media outlets are refusing to share her rebuttals. The vote is likely to take place Thursday. And several leadership positions are changing recently. CNN's president announced he is stepping down at the end of the year. That's when his contract ends. He told employees on Thursday he'd considered quitting towards the end of last year, but decided to stay on one more year. Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos recently announced he's stepping down, and now Parler no longer has a CEO. The social media platform head announced he's been terminated by the board. Parler CEO John Meier says the company's board fired him last Tuesday. He said he wasn't part of the decision. In a memo obtained by the Epoch Times, Mate said, "I've met constant resistance to my product vision, my strong belief in free speech, and my view of how the Parler site should be managed. For example, I advocated for more product stability and what I believe is a more effective approach to content moderation." He went on to say, "Over the past few weeks, I have worked endless hours and fought constant battles to get the Parler site running. But at this point, the future of Parler is no longer in my hands." He went on to thank the Parler employees and all the people who supported the app. Fox News was first to report the story. So that's one side, but it might not be everything. Parler investor and conservative media host Dan Bongino disagrees with Mate's version of events. In a Facebook video, Bongino says Mate's claims about being an advocate for free speech and product stability are not true. He says the relationship with Parler and the CEO did not work out because the CEO's vision was not ours. Bongino says Parler could have been up in a week if it agreed to heavily moderate content. But he says he and the other owners didn't want to do that, and that's why it's taking so long to get back up. He called Mates' statement an outrageous attack on people who have done nothing but work day and night to get this site back up. Apple, Google, and Amazon dropped Parler last month after the violence at the Capitol, citing lack of content moderation. Parler denies those claims. It's been offline since then. Parler sued Amazon earlier this year and demanded Amazon restore its web hosting services. On January 21st, a federal judge rejected Parler's request. The former CEO says he plans to take a few weeks off and then he'll look for new opportunities. He says he's not saying goodbye, just so long for now. And a 2-year investigation at Yale University is coming to a close. The Department of Justice, or DOJ, gave notice to a federal court on Wednesday that it's dropping a discrimination lawsuit filed only a few months ago. The DOJ described its decision as a voluntary dismissal of the litigation. The suit alleged Yale's admission policies violated Title VI of 1964 Civil Rights Act. In the letter alerting Yale to the suit, the attorney said investigators had found systemic favoritism by the Ivy League school that illegally disadvantaged Asian American and white applicants. The letter stated Yale grants substantial and often determinative preferences based on race to certain racially favored applicants, and relatively and significantly disfavors other applicants because of their race. Adding Yale's race discrimination imposes undue and unlawful penalties on racially disfavored applicants, including in particular Asian American and white applicants. Opponents of race-based college admissions have faced a rough road in seeking to persuade federal courts that such actions violate federal anti-discrimination laws and regulations. A DOJ spokesman who wished to remain anonymous told the Epoch Times the decision to withdraw the suit was based on a November 2020 federal court decision that rejected a challenge of Harvard's admissions policies. The Harvard decision stated the school had legally employed affirmative action tools in its admissions policies to achieve a desirable level of diversity in its student body. The unanimous court decision stated Harvard's race-conscious admissions program ensures that Harvard can retain the benefits of diversity it has already achieved. But Yale may not be off the hook yet. President of Students for Fair Admissions, Edward Bloom, issued a statement following the announcement, calling the decision disappointing. He said the lawsuit had exposed Yale's illegal use of quotas to achieve racial and ethnic proportionality. Bloom's group has been a leading opponent in the courts and the media of racial and ethnic favoritism in college admissions. He said in his statement that his group plans to file a new lawsuit against Yale in the coming days. He added discriminatory admissions policies like Yale's must be challenged in federal court. On the topic of schools are facing pressure to reopen, but some teachers' unions say they won't go back unless every teacher is vaccinated. But the CDC director says that's not necessary.
There is increasing data to suggest that schools can safely reopen, and that safe reopening does not suggest that teachers need to be vaccinated in order to reopen safely.
She made the remarks during a White House press briefing on the pandemic. She went on to say the CDC is following guidance from the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, or ACIP, about who should get vaccinated first. Teachers fall under the essential workers category. They stand at the 1B level for priority vaccination. The CDC under both the Biden and Trump administrations have been vocal about the safety and importance of reopening schools. Just last month, the CDC found little evidence of virus spread at schools that take precautions like social distancing. One study found that the benefits of reopening schools for in-person learning outweighs any negative health risks. The study states our results suggest that school reopenings have not increased COVID-19 hospitalizations, especially for the 75% of countries that had the lowest baseline hospitalizations. Researchers at the National Center for Research on Education Access and Choice conducted the study. And back in November, the CDC said the data showed that schools were the safest place for children to be. But what do you think? Let me know below. Thanks for tuning in to Deep Dive. I'm Tiffany Meier, and see you soon.